Escape from Butcher Bay expertly combines several playstyles and even genres to create a game that is unlike anything you've ever played. Every single part of the game, every feature, every element is it's all just as good as it possibly can be. This is just one of the best games ever made. Escape from Butcher Bay is, at a glance, a first-person shooter, but within half an hour of playing the game you will have used stealth to kill or evade your enemies, you will have participated in high-action firefights, you will have interacted with neutral NPCs whose dialogue drives the narrative forward, and you will have accepted side missions not related to the central story. At a glance, it is a first-person shooter, but it just really isn't. There's gunplay, there's stealth, there's role-playing elements. It incorporates so many different playstyles that it just transcends conventional genre labelling. Set at a maximum security prison called Butcher Bay, the game serves as a prequel to the Riddick movies. If you aren't fond of the films, well, you don't need to be. I can't stand either of them, but both the game as a whole and the Riddick character are just so enjoyable here that it's easy to overlook past crimes against standards of entertainment. While the story of Escape from Butcher Bay amounts to little more than escaping from Butcher Bay, you'll see and do a ton of things during the adventure. At the beginning of the game you're effectively sold to the prison by a bounty hunter. You'll quickly begin to cause problems for the guards and soon find yourself in a variety of interesting and diverse locations, ranging from the general population of the prison to a mine, all the way to a cryostasis facility. The visual presentation is one of the most striking things about the game, and it makes for a very immersive experience. The game uses a very minimalist UI. There's no health bar on screen except when you take damage, and when you're carrying guns, the game uses a laser pointer rather than a crosshair. Instead of some abstract stealth meter showing how visible you are, the entire screen changes colour slightly when you're in its shadows. It all works extremely well, and this minimalism adds greatly to the feeling that you're experiencing something far beyond what we associate with the letters F, P and S. Because there's practically no HUD at all. You also aren't just a disjointed head floating around in the game world. There's a strong feeling that your character is actually a part of the game environment. There's a very pronounced head bob as you walk. When you look down you can see your legs, your arms spread out to your sides when you jump. When you crouch you squat down and rest your wrists on your knees. When you're in position to make a stealth kill, Riddick's hands change position to let you know. When in stealth mode you can hear the thumping heartbeat of nearby guards. The game uses simple but intuitive and easy to understand visual and oral indicators that all really add to the feeling that you're in the game. And all of this is rather than using some HUD or some abstract bar or meter that's displayed on the screen. Riddick is a pretty agile guy. You're able to climb on things, vault over railings and shimmy along monkey bars. When performing these actions the game switches to a third person mode, which seems a little at odds with how immersive the game is the rest of the time, but the third person view does offer some improved peripheral vision at times, which does actually help. It was probably a bad idea for them to take us out of the first person, but it's a small complaint. The stealth sequences are tense and exciting, but the game doesn't punish you excessively if you're spotted. The game features a great melee and hand-to-hand combat mechanic. One button combined with a directional button to perform a melee attack, so if you hold left and attack you'll perform a left jab, and you've also got one button for block. If you time it right you can also catch the guard's weapon as he tries to smack you with the rifle button, kill him instantly. Most of the guns in the game use a DNA security system, so you'll get an electric shock when you try and use them. This means that the game stays focused on stealth when it's meant to stay focused on stealth, but the game doesn't sacrifice credibility to achieve this. Although it is a sort of a computer gamey contrivance, it's also believable and it makes sense within the context of the game. The game uses an intelligent health system. You have so many blocks of health. Blocks which have been partially depleted will regenerate if you stop taking damage for a while, but if you lose the entire block you need to use a Half-Life style health station scattered throughout the prison, sort of like there in Black Mesa, to get it back. It's a variant of the shield health system, but it works much better than the traditional shield health system. Another very impressive thing about the game is how well paced it is. In most other games, most especially shooters, you'll do the same thing over and over and over and over again. In Escape from Butcher Bay, you'll swap between stealth sequences, gunplay sequences, and NPC interaction sequences that are all just so expertly paced that you'll never have time to really adjust to what you're doing before you're doing something else. Which means the game never even begins to stagnate in the way that other games might. You'll find yourself creeping through air vents one moment, competing in bare-knuckle fighting competitions the next, and storming through the prison in an Ed 209 style droid the next. Even the very best games can become repetitive, but this is just not the case with Escape from Butcher Bay. There's absolutely no filler in the game at all. Everything you do, everywhere you go feels purposeful. It all feels like it's helping you on your way toward escaping. Nothing at all feels unnecessary. The game is pretty short, it's only around 7 or 8 hours long, but the content and pacing far more than make up for this lack of length. The level design is impressive. While the game is essentially a linear corridor game, the environments often make you feel like it isn't. You're led from one area to the next in such an expert manner that it really doesn't feel like you're being led at all. It feels natural, and given that the game is set in a prison, the narrow corridors and locked door after locked door feel contextually accurate. It's pretty hard to complain about linearity in a maximum security prison. But even while it is pretty linear, you're often given multiple routes to certain areas. You're able to take the slower but more rewarding stealth route, or the quicker but more exciting and perhaps more dangerous combat route. Visually, the game is pretty spectacular. Starbreeze's proprietary engine does have a pretty plasticky look, a lot like the Doom 3 engine, but the game still looks pretty awesome. There's a strong focus on darkness and shadows, which gives the game a very moody feel, and the dirty, almost grayscale metallic environments add quite a lot to the ambience. The overall presentation is extremely good. From the cinematic opening sequence that's easily as good as a game has ever managed, to the frequent cutscenes featuring over 30 voice actors, everything is of an extremely high standard. The dialogue and voice work are great. Voice actors like John DiMaggio and Debbie Mae West give great performances, and Vin Diesel's voice work as Riddick is actually much more enjoyable than in either of the films. The dialogue also feels authentic. The game doesn't hesitate to use foul language, and it's satisfying to play a game that has clearly been made with an adult audience in mind. Escape from Butcher Bay is just pretty much perfect. Everything about the game is so expertly crafted that it's just one of the most enjoyable, most playable games I've ever encountered. The only complaint I can really come up with is that it's just too short, but its sheer quality means that you'll probably want to play it again and again, and being able to play through the game listening to developer commentary is a very welcome option. In short, Escape from Butcher Bay is a game that everyone should play.